The morning when our town was overtaken by an unavoidable lockdown began just like any other day, with a routine that lulled us into a false sense of security. The sun rose as it always did, casting its warm glow over the town and painting the sky with hues of orange and pink. It was a day like any other, or so it seemed. The calmness of the morning was misleading, a deceptive tranquility that masked the chaos that was about to unfold. As the sun continued its daily journey, it dipped behind the rolling hills, casting long shadows that stretched across the town, creating an atmosphere that felt oddly unsettling. This unease crept into the air, subtle yet pervasive, like the slow unraveling of a tightly wound thread. This thread was what had held our town's sense of normalcy together, and as it began to unravel, so did the fabric of our everyday lives. I am Officer Mark Carson, a committed member of our local police force, and this is the detailed account of how my once peaceful and inviting neighborhood was transformed overnight. It became an eerie landscape of nightmares that defied all logic and reason, leaving us grappling with a reality that seemed plucked from the pages of a horror story, a reality that none of us could have ever anticipated. The first indication of the impending doom that was about to befall our town was the sharp, piercing wail of sirens. These urgent cries tore through the tranquility that had settled over our community, a tranquility that now seemed like a distant memory, a relic of a time that felt long past. The echoes of these sirens reverberated through the streets, which quickly emptied of life. People disappeared into their homes, leaving the streets deserted and eerily quiet. The sirens served as an eerie harbinger of the chaos that was to come, a warning that went largely unheeded until it was too late. As the grim reality tightened its grip on our town, families retreated into their homes, locking doors and sealing themselves off from the world outside. At that moment, engulfed in uncertainty and fear, none of us could truly comprehend the nature of the predicament we found ourselves in. Rumors spread like wildfire, each tale more sinister and ominous than the last. They hinted at neighbors transformed into monstrous, grotesque entities, far removed from humanity, uncanny echoes of ancient fears brought to life, fears that had long lain dormant in the collective consciousness of our community. These rumors fed the growing panic, adding fuel to the fire of fear that was spreading through our town. The call that shattered the eerie stillness of that fateful day came while I was on routine patrol with my partner, Officer Milligan. We were driving through the quiet streets, our minds occupied with the usual concerns of our daily duties, when the radio crackled to life with a frantic plea for help. We raced towards Maple Street, driven by the urgency of the call, a plea that would forever change the course of our lives. The scene that awaited us was nothing short of terrifying, a tableau of horror that defied comprehension. Beneath the flickering light of a dim street lamp, the familiar figures of our neighbors had become distorted shadows, intent on destruction without reason or restraint. I vividly remember Milligan's fall. His cries were swallowed by the cacophonous orchestra of chaos and violence that erupted around us. My firearm roared defiantly, bullets tearing through the darkness in a desperate bid to protect him, but salvation came too late. The creatures receded into the night, leaving behind an aftermath of silence and a stark tableau of death, a chilling reminder of the fragility of life and the unpredictable nature of the world we thought we knew. As the night deepened, so too did our isolation. The lifeline of communication that we had relied on was severed, silenced as if devoured by the encroaching shadows. We found ourselves trapped, cut off from the outside world, suffocated by an expanding canopy of violence that strangled our town. With each passing hour, we became like mice caught in a labyrinth of despair and brutality, a maze with no apparent exit. As night clung to its grip and dawn's light struggled to rise, a new and relentless terror emerged, a rampant blaze, an inferno advancing with no discrimination, devouring all in its path, closing its fiery jaws around us remorselessly, leaving nothing but ashes and destruction in its wake. The fire consumed everything, reducing homes and memories to nothing more than smoldering ruins. It was a force of nature that cared little for the lives it destroyed, a relentless reminder of our own helplessness in the face of such overwhelming power. Desperation fueled my decision to seek refuge in the forgotten recesses of the old mines, a place my grandfather's tales had enshrined in my memory, a sanctuary nestled within the hills just beyond the town's whispering boundaries. To my childhood self, those legends were just fragments of imaginations, narratives crafted to stir wonder and curiosity. Yet now, in our darkest hours, they materialized as the slender threads of hope, a lifeline that I clung to with all my might. I retreated to them, my footsteps lead heavy with the weight of loss and chaos left trailing in my wake, a trail that led me away from the madness that had engulfed our town. The path to the mines was fraught with danger, but it was a risk I was willing to take, driven by the hope that salvation lay within their depths. Within the mine's eternal shadow, the oppressive darkness became a welcomed, if fearsome, companion, a shroud that offered both concealment and solitude. Wandering through its convoluted network, my only guides were the history-laden stories my grandfather shared, tales that now felt crucial, rich with meaning and fraught with implications I had never before realized. The air was thick with the scent of earth and stone, a tangible reminder of the generations that had toiled in these tunnels, their presence lingering like ghosts in the shadows, whispering secrets of the past that only I could hear. The darkness was both a comfort and a threat, hiding me from the horrors above while reminding me of the unknown dangers that lurked in its depths. Time lost its sway within that stony silence, stretching and contorting around me as I navigated by the dim echoes of the past. I uncovered muted markers, rust-covered tools, and weather-beaten signs that silently conveyed secrets of the men who had once labored here. Guided by their ghostly presence, etched in time and rock, I ventured deeper, driven by an insatiable thirst for deliverance from our shrouded nightmare. Each step forward was a step away from the chaos, a journey into the heart of the earth where I hoped to find salvation, a sanctuary from the horrors that lay above. The deeper I went, the more the outside world seemed to fade away, replaced by the silent companionship of the mine and its storied past. Emerging from the mine's gritty confines into the nascent glow of dawn was a moment of crystallized revelation. The clarity was as brilliant and immutable as the light of daybreak spilling across the horizon. Behind me lay a town entombed in relentless darkness, yet ahead stretched a world blissfully unaware of the horror that had woven itself into our reality overnight. It dawned on me with stark truth. I had not simply endured, but had been irrevocably transformed. I was now the custodian of an unspoken testament, the final witness to a fractured world desperately grasping towards understanding, a world that had been forever altered by the events of that night. The experience had changed me, leaving indelible marks on my soul that would guide me in the days to come. The path unfurling before me was riddled with uncertainty, a journey laden with arduous truths demanding to be shared. With the sun rising, casting its luminous embrace over the land, hope and renewal intertwined in its warm glow. Bolstered by a hardened resolve, I recognized my destined path, to bear witness and alert others to the lurking shadows hidden in unsuspected places, perpetual and waiting to emerge once more. Within my heart, I felt the weight of a prophet's mantle, resolved to illuminate the darkness that loomed threateningly, poised to consume us all. The burden was heavy, but the necessity was clear. I had to tell our story, to warn others of the shadows that could descend upon any unsuspecting town, a warning that I hoped would prevent others from experiencing the nightmare that had befallen us. The responsibility was immense, but I knew it was my duty to share what I had seen, to ensure that the horrors that had visited our town would not be forgotten, and that others might be spared the same fate. The road ahead was uncertain, but it was a journey I was prepared to undertake, armed with the knowledge and experience I had gained, and driven by a desire to protect others from the darkness that lay in wait. Hope you enjoyed that spine-chilling experience. Now, let's move on to the next creepy tale. Ready to face more thrilling moments together? Let's dive into the next story right away. The day it all began is a chapter of my life that remains vividly etched in my memory, forever seared into my consciousness. It was a day that dawned like any other, set against the quiet backdrop of a small town that seemed to rest languidly on the very edge of majestic, endless forests that stretched towards infinity. This quaint town, cradled within a serene, undulating valley, was a place untouched by the relentless march of time, where history seemed to linger stubbornly in every cobblestone path and every whisper of the wind. Here, life unfolded with a gentle rhythm, an ebb and flow in perfect harmony with the swaying trees and the soft symphony of rustling leaves. As the morning unfurled, it wrapped everything in an enigmatic mist that clung possessively to the earth, blurring the rigid edges of reality and bathing the world in a dreamlike cloak. This mist, like a living creature, moved purposefully, weaving between the ancient trunks and around the small houses. It seemed to carry with it, held deeply within its ethereal folds, the weight of secrets as old as time itself, secrets waiting for someone bold enough to uncover them. The air was crisp, each breath filled with a refreshing chill mingled with the scent of pine needles and the elusive aroma of something much older, something that seemed to hint at stories long forgotten. It was as though the very forest held these ancient narratives, patiently waiting for the right soul to render them into the light of day. My name is Gray Woods, and it was within this mystical environment that what began as a mere whimsical fascination with the nuances of the supernatural world swiftly spiraled into a profound journey marked by terror and the most raw form of self-discovery. This path, shadowed and shrouded in mystery, promised both searing agony and piercing enlightenment. It drew me in, pulling at every fiber of my being with a magnetism I could neither comprehend nor resist, a calling that transcended all logic, a magnetic force that propelled me into the uncharted, into realms where reality and fantasy were so intricately intertwined, it was impossible to distinguish one from the other. The inception of this journey was cloaked in the realm of dreams, intensely vivid, disorienting dreams that lingered long after waking, dreams that left me profoundly questioning the very nature of reality itself. Within these surreal night visions, I found myself slipping effortlessly through the metaphorical cracks that separate our world from unseen dimensions, into realms where the conventional laws of physics did not hold sway. These were spheres where shadows were not mere absence of light, but took on solid form and aching substance, where the silence was heavy, fraught with an unending cacophony of distant, blood-curdling screams, and where the air was thick, not just with humidity but with the scent of decay and memories long forgotten. These dreams were not merely the creations of an overactive imagination. They were potent gateways, portals to something unfathomably larger, a mystery that beckoned me, irresistibly, to explore its unfathomable depths, to uncover the enigmas that lie coyly beyond the veil of perception. As these dreams persisted, each more poignant and throbbing with intensity than the last, I came to realize, with an ever-growing certainty that was thrilling and terrifying in equal measure, that I had stumbled upon a rare ability, a gift or a curse that allowed me to traverse realms that dwelt tenuously between life and death, a threshold known to precious few, and crossed by even fewer. This was a realm rife with mystery and additional danger, a daunting place where the boundaries of existence shimmered with blurred uncertainty, and the rigid rules of reality were bent or sometimes rewritten with whimsical disregard. It was a daunting arena where each step taken could lead to exhilarating revelation or spiral into harrowing ruin. My inaugural expedition into this eerie yet mesmerizing borderland was an experience that was as terrifying as it was enthralling. The environment that surrounded me was in a constant state of flux. One moment, I found myself wandering through a dense, ancient forest whose towering trees whispered my darkest fears back to me, their voices eerily mirroring those of childhood friends long lost and forgotten in the sands of time. The next, I stood amidst an unexpected, desolate wasteland, stark and windswept, where the ground beneath my feet cracked ominously and shifted restlessly, as though protesting my intrusive footsteps upon its sacred, forbidden soil. Each conscious step I took was not merely movement, but a journey into the core of the unknown, a frightening dance with forces that defied the very fabric of comprehension and understanding. Yet, paradoxically, it was not these vividly surreal, ever-changing landscapes that truly tested the depths of my resolve. Rather, it was the entities that called this place home. Faceless figures lurked constantly, lingering just beyond the margins of my vision, their invisible eyes keenly watching and perpetually waiting. Their inscrutable presence exerted a constant pressure against the fragile walls of my sanity, serving as an unsettling reminder of the unseen dimensions I had dared to intrude upon. They were the stoic guardians of the realm, enigmatic and eternally elusive, poised to challenge my courage and determination at every nerve-wracking turn, testing my unwavering will to continue onward. With each successive journey, more was demanded of me, greater reserves of courage, more control over the burgeoning, untested abilities that had shaped this journey. I faced trials beyond the pale of imagination. I traversed endless expanses of burning, unforgiving sands under a relentless sun whose heat seemed intent on boiling the very air itself, reducing life to a parched existence, and I navigated treacherous icy caverns, where the biting cold was more than just a temperature, it was a maliciously living entity, grasping at my soul with icy fingers intent on dragging me into frozen oblivion. The deeper I ventured, the more daunting these challenges grew, as though the realm itself was an ancient intelligence, intent on testing my worthiness to navigate its labyrinthine secret paths and unearth its deeply embedded truths. It was a relentless pursuit, a quest that drove me to my limits and beyond, revealing to me the previously uncharted depths of my spirit and the surprisingly tenacious strength of my resolve, which had lain dormant. The ongoing journey, therefore, was as much a passage of rigorous self-discovery as it was an adventure of exhilarating exploration, a path that lay bare the hidden facets of my innermost soul. What sustained my forward momentum was not merely the seductive thrill of adventure or the sheer challenge posed by this exotic undertow, but a deeply ingrained, insatiable curiosity, a profound, almost primal need to transcend the boundaries of life itself, to understand fully what lay hidden beyond the veil of existence known as death. Each successful crossing into the strange realm left me bathed in an unfamiliar sensation, an unnerving, paradoxical blend of fulfillment and dread that both beckoned and repelled, calling me forward while warning me away from the abyss. During one of these poignant crossings, I stumbled upon something utterly extraordinary, an artifact that unexpectedly connected the fibers of my present quest with a distant, long-forgotten memory of my past. In the depths of this bewildering world, I unearthed a relic from my childhood, a lost television show called Candle Cove. This series was not merely a fantastical narrative, but a grim, haunting odyssey that was said to have vanished without a trace, along with the deep, dark secrets embedded within the framework of its eerie, disturbing episodes. This discovery was more than a mere recollection. It was a profound revelation, a critical connection to my past that added a new, complex layer of meaning to my ongoing journey, a powerful reminder of the life I had left behind, and the silent call that had now led me here. The more challenges I successfully overcame, the more adept I became at manipulating the fragile partition that separated our world from this enigmatic realm of shadows. I learned to navigate by tapping into the subtle energies that wove and flowed between dimensions, honing and refining my skills until I could slip between these realities with a relative degree of ease, though never without the necessary caution and respect. The key, I discovered, was not in waging war against the shadows, but in understanding the intricate nature and delicate balance they so jealously maintained. Each crossing served to illuminate more about the equilibrium that existed precariously between different planes of reality, highlighting the critical importance of not disturbing this balance lest I unleash consequences that lay far beyond my comprehension. It was an ongoing lesson, a journey of humility and respect, a cyclical reminder of the fragile nature of existence and the potent power that lay embedded within the shadows, a power that could either be harnessed for good or unleash unimaginable fear. Despite the ever-present risks and dangers, the compulsion, the intense drive to explore deeper, to understand more, was utterly irresistible. I found myself longing for a genuine adventure, one untainted by the artificial constructs of human endeavor, anchored firmly in the purest essence of undiscovered discovery. But with every journey, no matter how small, came a pervasive hint of ominous foreboding, a stark reminder of the inherent dangers and lurking uncertainties within this shadowed realm. The faceless ones, those enigmatic entities, grew bolder with each crossing, emerging from their hidden vantage points with unnerving regularity to confront me directly. Their intent was perpetually cloaked in ambiguity, and their presence stood as a silent testament to my unauthorized intrusion into their sacred sanctum. Each encounter drained me both physically and mentally, forcing me to dig deeper into reserves I didn't know I possessed. Yet, fueled by a relentless, unyielding curiosity and an undeterred determination, I pressed on, traversing this foreign expanse, driven inexorably by an insistent need to uncover the truths that lay submerged and hidden within the encompassing shadows. It was a relentless endeavor, a pursuit that consumed my every waking moment, leaving me constantly yearning for answers and understanding, desperate for the nuanced knowledge that always seemed just beyond my tethered reach. As I journeyed further into this enigmatic realm, I came to the alarming realization that these explorations were gradually consuming me. The line that separated the tangible from the ethereal thinned perceptibly with each and every step I took between these divergent worlds. Shadows, once mere motifs of darkness, whispered endless temptations, promising unparalleled power and unparalleled understanding in exchange for my unconditional loyalty, offering glimpses of truths shrouded in enticing twilight, wrapped within the seductive allure of forbidden knowledge. I resisted these siren calls, aware and wary of the hidden intentions lying behind these dangerously hollow promises. I knew intrinsically that their revelations might come at an unfathomable cost, a cost too high for any mortal to pay. To give in would mean sacrificing my essence, losing my very self to the exact shadows I so desperately sought to understand. This was the test of my resolve, an unyielding challenge that forced me to confront my deepest, most tightly held fears and desires, propelling me on a journey that demanded everything within me, and more. Nonetheless, through these arduous trials, I uncovered aspects of myself I had never known, facets hidden beneath layers of existence. The adventures stripped me bare, revealing innate strengths I had underestimated and fears I had long buried beneath the shell of existence. Each journey forced me to confront the chaotic tumult within my own soul, leading me gradually toward an understanding that transcended the often taunting physical ties of the world I had once thought was every bit of everything that existed. I discovered resilience I had never dreamed I possessed, and in doing so, I began to unravel bit by bit the sprawling mystery of my past, finally offering startling clarity to questions that had haunted, pursued, and hounded me for untold years. It was an epic journey of self-discovery, a winding path that led me inexorably to the core of my own being and the essence of my true identity, a path that ultimately helped to reveal the much sought-after truths I had long, painfully sought. In the fullness of time, the accumulated knowledge and insight I gained from my many crossings began to unravel the thorny mystery of my past, finally offering stark, startling clarity. Memories surfaced unbidden, the muted, distant echoes not only of Candle Cove but of my own cryptic origins, fragments forgotten and obscured over time by the mundane clutches of reality. It was as though each journey conducted through this mysterious realm magically unlocked an aspect of myself previously hidden and unknown, and with this newfound understanding came the awareness of who I truly was and what my existence was truly meant to be. The shadows, once starkly oppressive and utterly terrifying, became an integral part of me, their mysteries now accepted and no longer seen as menacing threats but as solemn responsibilities that rested upon my shoulders. They stood as a testament to the long and arduous journey I had undertaken and the profound transformation I had undergone through trials and vision quests, a symbol of genuine growth and deepening understanding I had so desperately sought and ultimately achieved. Ultimately, the fervent pursuit for a deeper understanding beyond this veil became a quest for inner peace, a resolution to calm and soothe the turbulent tempest that raged continually within me. I had ventured further into this mirrored realm than any other mortal before me, discovering not only the hidden dimensions and nuanced layers of our universe, but also the stunning complexities of my own spirit. When the distant borders of this strange, surreal realm finally receded, offering a final, cherished release into the calming embrace of self-awareness, I came to realize the true, albeit unacknowledged adventure had always been the journey inward. Though the physical dangers and tangible fears I faced were indeed daunting, it was the internal odyssey, the inward journey, that eventually granted me closure, a transformative experience that offered me a valuable lens through which to view my perceived reality anew. It was a profound journey of transformation, a convoluted path that invariably led me unerringly to a place of acceptance, a place of understanding, a journey that gradually revealed the core truths I had so long, ardently, and desperately sought. No longer driven under the pall of fear or with the burning urgency of mere curiosity, I emerged from these shadow journeys with an unexpected new wisdom, the unparalleled ability to walk both paths with a serene equilibrium, genuinely finding peace not just in high adventure alone, but in the radiant simplicity of life untouched by the supernatural, a profound peace both hard-won and richly deserved over time. The shadows, once an ever-present, all-consuming source of overwhelming fear, became now indelibly a part of me, their constant presence a gentle, unobtrusive reminder of the monumental journey I had so deliberately undertaken and the transformative change I had undergone. They were now a symbol of my personal growth, a testament to the innate strength and profound resilience I had quietly discovered within myself, the ubiquitous, reassuring reminder of the arduous path I had boldly walked. Thus, concluded my tale, an intricate narrative woven of shadows and radiant light, of darkness profound enough to enlighten and yet filled with an insidious desire to consume. I returned to my humble world a fundamentally changed man, armed with both the euphoric anticipation for life's next daring escapade and the profound serenity that came from having journeyed into the unfathomable depths of my own soul. The myriad experiences I had endured, the significant truths I had uncovered, had collectively reshaped the essence of my understanding of reality, the way I saw the world itself, leaving me forever altered and yet at peace with both the tangible world and my newfound self. It was an intense and timeless journey that had carried me to the very edge of existence and back again, a twisting, convoluted path that had ultimately led me to the core of my own being and the true essence of my identity, a journey that had gradually revealed the core, immutable truths I had long and desperately sought. Hope you enjoyed that spine-chilling experience. Now, let's move on to the next creepy tale. Ready to face more thrilling moments together? Let's dive into the next story right away. I found myself wandering aimlessly through the dense heart of the forest, enveloped by the thick canopy overhead. The trees seemed to merge into one another, their branches intertwining to form a natural roof that blocked out the sun, casting long, eerie shadows on the forest floor. The air was cool and damp, filled with the earthy aroma of moss and decaying leaves. As I walked, the trails twisted and turned, seemingly without end, leading me deeper into the wilderness. Each path looked the same, a labyrinth of green and brown that offered no clues as to where I was or where I should go. The further I went, the more disoriented I became, and it wasn't long before I realized the unsettling truth. I was hopelessly lost in this vast, unfamiliar wilderness. My heart began to pound with a growing sense of dread as I came to terms with my situation. Alone, surrounded by nothing but the whispering trees and the distant calls of unseen creatures, I felt a chill creep down my spine. The forest, once a place of beauty and wonder, had transformed into a realm of uncertainty and fear, where every rustle of leaves seemed to whisper a warning. Pushing forward, driven by a mix of determination and desperation, I moved through the underbrush. Each step seemed heavier than the last, as if the forest itself was trying to hold me back. The ground was uneven, covered in roots and rocks that threatened to trip me with every step. The air was thick with the scent of damp earth and decaying leaves, a constant reminder of the untamed nature surrounding me. The forest was alive with hidden life, yet it felt as though it were holding its breath, waiting for something. As I trudged on, my resolve was slowly eroding, gnawed away by the realization that I had no idea where I was going or how I would find my way back. The forest seemed to close in around me, the trees standing like silent sentinels, watching my every move. I tried to calm my racing thoughts, focusing on the rhythmic crunch of leaves beneath my feet, but the anxiety gnawed at my mind, relentless and unyielding. Each sound, each shadow seemed to harbor a threat, and the isolation weighed heavily on my spirit. Then, as if by some strange twist of fate, I stumbled upon an ancient wooden bridge. It appeared out of nowhere, a relic from a forgotten era, its wooden planks weathered and covered in a thick layer of moss. The bridge stretched across a narrow ravine, its structure seeming both fragile and defiant, as if it had stood the test of time against all odds. The sight of it was both a surprise and a relief, a sign that perhaps I wasn't as alone as I had feared. Despite its precarious appearance, I felt an inexplicable urge to cross it. Perhaps it was the faint hope that it might lead me back to some semblance of civilization, or maybe it was the curiosity that tugged at my mind, urging me to uncover the secrets that lay beyond. The bridge seemed to beckon me, its silent promise of escape too tempting to resist. It was as though it held the answers to the questions that plagued my mind, a path leading out of the confusion and fear. With a deep breath and a sense of trepidation, I stepped onto the bridge. The wood groaned under my weight, each step accompanied by a creak that echoed through the stillness. It was as if the bridge itself was alive, protesting my intrusion into its forgotten domain. As I moved forward, the world around me seemed to change. The vibrant sounds of the forest, the chirping of birds, the rustling of leaves, faded away, replaced by an unnerving silence. It was as if the forest was holding its breath, watching and waiting for something to happen. The silence was oppressive, a heavy blanket that smothered all sound and left me feeling exposed and vulnerable. Each step felt like a transgression, a journey into a realm that time had forgotten. Halfway across the bridge, a foul stench assaulted my senses. It was a noxious odor, a putrid aroma that made my stomach churn and nausea rise in my throat. I paused, my steps faltering as I looked around, trying to locate the source of the smell. It was then that I saw it, a monstrous, grotesque creature, unlike anything I had ever seen. It was feasting upon a deer carcass, its slithering, sinewy form both mesmerizing and horrifying. My breath caught in my throat as its eyes, feral and devoid of mercy, locked onto mine. The creature was a nightmare made flesh, its presence a violation of the natural order, a dark secret the forest had hidden away. For a moment, time seemed to stand still. Panic surged through me, freezing my body in place as I stared into the creature's eyes. Neither of us moved, suspended in a moment of tense anticipation. Then, as if fueled by a sudden rush of adrenaline, I turned and sprinted back towards the safety of the bridge. My heart pounded in my chest, each beat echoing like a drum as I pushed myself to run faster, my feet pounding against the wooden planks. The fear was a living thing, driving me forward with a primal urgency that left no room for doubt or hesitation. The bridge seemed to stretch endlessly before me, each step a desperate bid for survival. The creature pursued me with terrifying speed, its heavy footfalls echoing menacingly in the silence. I could feel its presence closing in, a suffocating weight that threatened to overtake me at any moment. Breathless and desperate, I reached the end of the bridge, feeling the creature's presence uncomfortably close. In a frantic attempt to sever our connection, I fumbled for a match and struck it, throwing it onto the aging wood. The flames took hold quickly, the dry wood crackling and spitting as the fire consumed the bridge. I watched, breathless and trembling, as the creature paused, seemingly confused by the barrier of flames that now separated us. The fire roared, a wall of heat and light that drove the creature back into the shadows. For a brief moment, relief washed over me, but it was quickly replaced by a sense of unease. Had I truly escaped, Or had I unleashed a greater threat by destroying the bridge? The fire continued to burn, the creature retreating into the depths of the forest, and I found myself questioning the wisdom of my actions. As I made my way back through the forest, retracing my steps with a newfound urgency, I couldn't shake the feeling that the eyes of the forest were upon me, judging and watching my every move. The encounter with the creature served as a chilling reminder that there are things in this world that defy understanding, lurking in the shadows, waiting for the unwary to stumble upon them. In the face of such darkness, sometimes the only choice is to flee, to run with all your might and never look back. Even now, the memory haunts me, a lingering doubt that, in my flight, I had awakened something far more sinister. To those who venture into the unknown, heed my warning. When confronted with the unimaginable, run. Run with all your strength, and never allow curiosity to override caution. The forest holds secrets that are better left undisturbed, and sometimes the path to safety lies not in facing the darkness, but in escaping it. The experience left an indelible mark on my soul, a reminder of the thin veil that separates our world from the unknown. As I emerged from the forest, the weight of my encounter lingered, a shadow that would follow me long after I had left the trees behind. I had escaped, but the memory of that day, of the creature in the flames, would remain with me forever, a testament to the dangers that lurk beyond the edges of the familiar. As I stepped back into the light of the world I knew, I carried with me the lesson of the forest, a lesson of caution, of respect for the unknown, and of the thin line that separates safety from peril. Hope you enjoyed that spine-chilling experience. Now, let's move on to the next creepy tale. Ready to face more thrilling moments together? Let's dive into the next story right away. Whispers floated gently through the dimming light of dusk, carried on the familiar, gravelly voice of my Uncle Peter. His stories were a cherished tradition at our family gatherings, spun beneath a vast canopy of stars and accompanied by the smoky, comforting warmth of a crackling campfire. As children, we would sit wide-eyed and entranced, captivated by the vivid images he conjured with his words. Despite this enchantment, I never truly believed them, dismissing these tales as mere embellishments crafted to entertain and enthrall us during those long, communal nights. They were, to my young mind, nothing more than fanciful folklore, shared amidst the camaraderie and laughter of family evenings. Yet, there was one particular night that would forever alter my perception, when his narrative veered into something deeply captivating and unnervingly real, sending prickles of curiosity racing across my skin. Uncle Peter, with his rugged, time-weathered features and eyes that seemed to dwell in places far beyond the present moment, began recounting a tale that sent shivers cascading down my spine. This was not the usual ghost story or amusing anecdote about a mischievous forest spirit. No, this tale was more profound, touching something deep within the mysterious recesses of my imagination. He spoke of a creature, cloaked in the mythology of our region, hidden away in the dense and shadowy heart of the nearby forest. For years, locals had whispered of this elusive being, a giant entity known as Bigfoot, surrounded by an aura of secrecy and fear. My uncle recounted his personal encounter with this creature, capturing its essence in vivid, haunting detail. He described the being as towering and humanoid, its entire form swathed in thick, deep brown fur that seemed to flicker and dance with the shadows of the trees. It was an unsettling presence, one that invoked both terror and a mesmerizing allure. This story, unlike any other he had ever told, gripped me with an intensity one had never experienced before. For years, I had dismissed similar tales as idle gossip or cultural myths, designed to entertain or instill fear. Yet, something in Uncle Peter's recounting seemed imbued with sincere belief and raw emotion, a visceral account that whispered of both dread and undeniable truth. I found myself ensnared by an overwhelming need to uncover the reality behind Uncle Peter's chilling encounter, an urge that drove me to explore the forest myself, in search of this enigmatic creature. Despite my bravado, I was armed with little more than a flashlight, my inexhaustible curiosity, and an adventurous spirit that, in hindsight, seemed ominously naive. When I stepped into the forest, it felt alive, breathing with secrets held beneath the collective hush of its leaves. Each step I took was accompanied by the orchestra of rustling branches and distant, mocking cries of creatures unseen, enveloping me in an ambience that pulsed with an unseen, mysterious energy. It was as though the forest itself was a living, breathing entity, teeming with life and hidden mysteries. The deeper I ventured, the more each sound, each broken twig underfoot, amplified my awareness, heightening my senses to the acute realization of another presence watching me. Every whispering gale carried with it the intimate feeling of being silently observed, as if unseen eyes followed my every move. Suddenly, the forest was interrupted by a sound, a deep, resonant howl that rang through the trees, aligning perfectly with Uncle Peter's vivid description. The sound echoed with a haunting quality, not wholly animal, nor entirely human, but resonating somewhere disturbingly in between. It vibrated through the marrow of my bones, suspending me in a moment both surreal and terrifying. That moment stretched into eternity, yet passed in an instant. Drenched in fear-induced sweat, my bravado rapidly crumbled, replaced by a primal urge to flee, to reach the sanctity of home. Each step of my retreat was marked not just on the path, but carved into my memory with jagged edges of fear and adrenaline rush. Once enveloped by the safe realm of home, relief washed over me with tangible warmth. But that fragile sense of security was quickly shattered as a flicker of movement at the periphery of my vision drew my attention. I turned just in time to see a pair of eyes, glowing with an unnatural orange hue, sharpening the shadows of my dimly lit backyard. Those eyes were alive with an unspoken intensity, locking onto mine with a mesmerizing force that sent an icy shiver down my spine. They blinked at me, so close that I could sense them and yet alien in their detachment, casting an eerie glow that shifted the boundaries between night and day. In that ominous moment, reality settled upon me like a shadowy cloak. The creatures from the forest were not constrained by its borders. Their realm extended beyond entwined branches and shadowy trails, reaching out to encroach upon the safety of my world, obliterating the comforting illusion of separation. It was clear they could venture where they pleased, their territory boundless and unrestricted, linking their fate inexorably with our own. Driven by a visceral need to affirm the threads of sanity holding my world together, I returned to the forest the following morning, under a sky smeared with pale strokes of dawn. It was in this hesitant, half-light that I discovered the chilling truth: footprints, massively imprinted and undeniably real, embedded within the earth as if to etch their existence into history itself. These prints spoke with a silent eloquence, a testament not of myth, but of reality's sometimes unnerving edge. Uncle Peter's tales emerged not merely as idle fancy, but as veiled warnings, predictions of sights witnessed or destined to be perceived. With every trace of their presence, my apprehension grew into a firm conviction. These weren't mere figments of overactive imaginations or campfire creations. They were real, they were here, blended into the shadows, ancient memories of a world that moves just beyond the periphery of human understanding. These legendary beings lived intertwined with our existence, unseen yet ever present. As I reflected upon their enduring grip on my world, I realized there was no turning away from their whispers. Bound by the invisible threads of fate, I was drawn into their unfolding narrative, forever a captive audience to the wondrous and terrifying enigma that shared the world with us. The whispers in the wilderness were no longer just stories told under the stars. They were a part of my reality, a haunting melody that would echo through the corridors of my mind. A reminder that some mysteries are never truly solved, only acknowledged and respected. The forest, with its towering trees and dense underbrush, had always been a place of mystery and allure. It was a realm where the boundaries between reality and imagination blurred, where legends were born and whispers carried tales of the unknown. As I stood there, under the vast expanse of the starry sky, I felt a profound connection to the stories my uncle had shared. They were not just tales spun from imagination, but threads woven into the very fabric of our existence, binding us to a world that was both familiar and foreign. Each night, as the campfire crackled and the stars twinkled above, Uncle Peter's voice would rise and fall, painting vivid pictures of creatures lurking in the shadows, of eyes that glowed with an otherworldly light, and of footsteps that echoed in the silence of the night. His stories were a tapestry of fear and wonder, of the known and the unknown, and they resonated deeply within me, stirring a curiosity that refused to be quelled. The forest was a living entity, a breathing organism that held secrets untold and mysteries unsolved. It whispered to those who dared to listen, its voice carried on the wind, rustling through the leaves and echoing in the stillness. It was a place where the past and present converged, where time seemed to stand still, and where the veil between the worlds was thin and fragile. As I ventured deeper into the heart of the forest, I felt a presence, an unseen force that watched and waited. It was a feeling both exhilarating and terrifying, a reminder that the world was vast and full of wonders yet to be discovered. The forest, with its ancient trees and hidden paths, was a gateway to the unknown, a place where reality and fantasy intertwined, and where the stories of old came to life. The echoes of Uncle Peter's tales lingered in my mind, a haunting melody that played on repeat, urging me to explore, to seek, and to understand. They were not just stories, but a call to adventure, a challenge to uncover the truth that lay hidden in the shadows. The forest beckoned, its mysteries tantalizingly close, and I knew that I was forever bound to its secrets, a willing participant in the unfolding narrative of the world around me. In the quiet moments, as the sun dipped below the horizon and the stars emerged one by one, I would sit and ponder the stories I had heard. They were a reminder of the magic that existed in the world, of the unseen forces that shaped our lives, and of the enduring power of belief. The forest, with its whispers and shadows, was a testament to the mysteries that lay beyond our understanding, a place where the impossible became possible, and where the stories of old were woven into the very essence of the earth. As I reflected on my experiences, I realized that the world was full of wonders waiting to be discovered, of stories waiting to be told, and of mysteries waiting to be unraveled. The forest, with its ancient wisdom and timeless beauty, was a reminder of the magic that lay just beyond the reach of our understanding, a place where the whispers of the past mingled with the hopes of the future, and where the stories of old continue to inspire and captivate. Hope you enjoyed that spine-chilling experience. Now, let's move on to the next creepy tale. Ready to face more thrilling moments together? Let's dive into the next story right away. Driving at night possesses an almost ethereal quality, a mesmerizing rhythm where you become one with the road stretching infinitely before you. The veil of night has this peculiar ability to amplify both solitude and serenity. On a particular evening, I found myself enveloped by such enchanting darkness, my car slicing through the inky abyss as the tires hummed a song to the vast emptiness around me. For hours, I had been on this relentless journey, tasked with delivering goods to small, elusive towns that seemed to appear and vanish into the night like fleeting ghosts. Weariness had begun its assault, clawing at my alertness, and my spirits lifted ever so slightly when a distant, neon glow, a fast food emblem known all too well, shimmered like a beacon of salvation. I approached this lone McDonald's nestled awkwardly between vast expanses of nothingness, feeling an inexplicable sense of relief as I entered the ghostly parking lot. The structure was ablaze with artificial light, an almost defiant stand against the encroaching shadows that loomed like ominous spectators. Yet, this inviting glow contrasted sharply with the jarring sight of an entirely vacant parking area, devoid of any other vehicles or signs of life. A palpable chill crept through my skin, defying the warm air whirring from the car's heater, turning what should have been an innocent rest stop into an unnerving enigma. As my fatigue threatened to claim victory over my senses, hunger and curiosity joined forces to spur me onward. Surely, a brief respite, a warm coffee, and a quick meal would invigorate me, ensuring I could navigate the remainder of my lengthy route. I approached the drive-thru, tires clicking rhythmically on the gravel path, as a cheerful yet incongruously eerie tune floated through the air, ill-suited for the moment. The intercom crackled to life, a disembodied voice breaking the silence with hollow enthusiasm. "Welcome to McDonald's. May I take your order?" The voice, overly cheerful and impossibly rehearsed, struck a dissonant chord within me, seeding discomfort that settled uneasily in my gut. Casting aside my misgivings, I selected a simple order from memory, a black coffee and a burger. The intercom clicked again, the voice offering assurances that my order would be promptly prepared. Turning the corner to the pickup window, I reached for my wallet, grateful the promise of sustenance and caffeine would soon fuel the night's journey ahead. As the window slid open silently, my greeting stuck, a whisper caught in the cold grip of my throat. What I saw next turned my blood to ice. The individual standing before me was an apparition of disarray, as if conjured from a nightmare. Their uniform was in utter disarray, and my mind grappled with the horrific reality before me. It was not the chaotic state of their clothing that anchored me in terror, it was the vivid, sinister crimson splashed across them, head to toe, like a grotesque work of art. For an interminable moment, our eyes met. Mine were wide, filled with mounting horror, while theirs were unnervingly void, as if peering into the very depths of my soul. Overwhelmed by the chilling grip of fear threatening to paralyze me, I summoned every ounce of willpower to maintain a semblance of composure. With trembling hands, I accepted the bag and cup extended toward me, my gaze unwillingly fixating on the red spots marring the bag's innocent brown hue. Adrenaline surged, an urgent plea for my instincts to escape this surreal and terrifying encounter. Suddenly, I was accelerating away, the tires protesting under the sudden demand as I forced the pedal down further than intended. My mind spun wildly, questioning the reality of what I had witnessed. Was it truly real, or had fatigue orchestrated a vivid, macabre illusion? The rational section of my mind fought for dominance, reasoning it must have been an ill-conceived prank, a juvenile attempt at horror-themed humor by the establishment. But beneath this logic, raw instincts screamed an unmistakable warning. Something was profoundly and disturbingly wrong. I resisted the irrational urge to peer over my shoulder, lest the haunting image lingered in my sight. My grip tightened around the steering wheel, knuckles blanching as the diner diminished rapidly in my rearview mirror. Reduced to a mere glint of light against the never-ending tapestry of the night, I finally dared to release the breath I had unwittingly held, escaping as a shuddering exhale. Upon reaching the refuge of another rest stop, a welcome haven bustling with weary travelers and refreshingly devoid of insidious mysteries, I disposed of the bag without ever daring to peek inside. The mere thought of what might have tainted the food stirred a visceral, gut-clenching unease, nausea spawned not by hunger but rooted in revulsion. There was no solace in the silence for the remainder of my journey. A shadow of unease draped over me, thick like fog under a hidden moon. The external darkness seemed densely packed, the isolation almost suffocating. Every shadow sharpened to sinister clarity, the whisper of wind against the car's surfaces morphed into cautionary murmurings, a language bereft of comprehension yet layered with silent warnings. Dawn's first fragile tendrils scorched the horizon by the time I finally reached my intended destination. Standing on the precipice of morning, a soft glow erasing the darkness, I began to question the veracity of my recollections. Had it been nothing more than a fevered vision, a narrative spun from a weary mind? Or had I, in truth, ventured into the realm of the sinister, faced with an inexplicably chilling reality in that solitary, illuminated diner? Rationality attempted its gentle counsel, but a primal whisper persisted deep within, a behest to remain vigilant. As I recount the specters of that shadowed night, a part of me cannot help but ponder if the diner still stands solitary and silent on that forgotten stretch of desolate highway, a beacon for other unsuspecting travelers to encounter. My fervent hope remains that those who come across its path heed their instincts, wisely choosing to drive on unperturbed, leaving the haunting unknown to slumber undisturbed. And as I sift through the vivid tapestry of memories, the haunting unease remains imprinted, whispering that I narrowly evaded something far darker, far more sinister than I have the courage to truly acknowledge. The night had a way of wrapping its tendrils around my thoughts, each mile stretching out like a never-ending thread in a tapestry of uncertainty. The rhythmic thrum of the engine was a constant companion, yet it did little to drown out the questions that echoed in my mind. Had I truly seen what I thought I had, or was it merely a trick of the light, a figment conjured by exhaustion and the haze of the night? As I drove on, the landscape around me began to blur, the edges of reality softening under the weight of doubt. The road seemed to stretch on forever, a ribbon of asphalt winding through an ocean of darkness. Each passing mile marker felt like a heartbeat, a steady reminder of the distance I had yet to cover. And yet, the memory of the diner lingered, a ghostly presence that refused to be banished by the dawn. I found myself replaying the encounter in my mind, dissecting each moment with the precision of a surgeon. The server's vacant eyes, the crimson stains that marred their uniform, the unnerving cheerfulness of the voice over the intercom, all of it played out in an endless loop, a film reel of horror that refused to let me go. I searched for answers in the shadows, hoping to find some semblance of logic to cling to, yet all I found was an ever-deepening pit of unease. Even as the first light of day began to paint the sky in hues of gold and pink, the sense of foreboding remained. It clung to me like a second skin, a constant reminder of the night I had left behind. I couldn't shake the feeling that I had stumbled upon something far beyond my understanding, a glimpse into a world where reality and nightmare intertwined. As I reached my final destination, the familiarity of the surroundings did little to ease the tension that had taken root within me. The streets were alive with the bustle of morning routines, the world awakening to a new day, yet I felt like an outsider, a traveler who had ventured too far into the unknown. The events of the night weighed heavily on my mind, a burden I couldn't easily cast aside. In the days that followed, I found myself haunted by the memory of the diner. It seeped into my thoughts at the most unexpected moments, a specter that refused to be forgotten. I couldn't help but wonder if others had experienced the same unsettling encounter, if the diner stood as a silent sentinel, waiting for the next unsuspecting soul to cross its path. And so, I remained vigilant, my senses attuned to the whispers of the night. The road calls to me still, a siren song that beckons me to explore its depths once more. But I tread carefully, ever aware of the shadows that lurk just beyond the reach of the headlights. For I know that within the darkness lies a world of mystery and danger, a place where the boundaries of reality blur and the unknown waits patiently for those who dare to seek it out. Hope you enjoyed that spine-chilling experience. Now, let's move on to the next creepy tale. Ready to face more thrilling moments together? Let's dive into the next story right away. Working as a guide at the mining museum nestled in the heart of British Columbia seemed an easy enough job, straightforward and with little complexity. My responsibility was to lead intrigued visitors through the dimly lit, intricate tunnels, spaces where the walls themselves seemed to hold the echoes of countless tales about the miners who once courageously faced the challenges of these vast subterranean mazes. In 2008, I found myself a few months into this role, with each day blending seamlessly into the next, marked by routine and familiar faces of enthusiastic visitors. That is, until one particular evening, a night so vivid in its terror, it etched itself into my memory forever. The chilling experience from that night resurfaces unexpectedly, stealing into quiet moments and haunting my dreams long after darkness falls. The day had unfolded quietly, only marked by the presence of eager groups keen on uncovering the rich mining history that this unique region carried within its depths. As the sun began its descent beyond the distant mountains, casting long and foreboding shadows across the entrance of the museum, I prepared myself with a steady breath for the final tour of the fading day. Once the last of the visitors had trickled out, leaving behind only the echoes of their footsteps, I was left alone with the duty of ensuring that each corner of the expansive exhibit was just right before I locked the heavy, protective doors for the night to come. The tunnels, with their cool, dank air, were like a second home to me as I moved through them. Each step I took echoed hauntingly off the uneven stone walls, creating a symphony of sound that was both familiar and eerie. As I approached the deepest recess of the mine, a peculiar chill began to trace a path down my spine. It was a sensation that seemed out of place, foreign, and invasive. Despite this prickling discomfort, I attributed it merely to the exhaustion of the day's work. Determined not to be swayed by fatigue, I continued my checks, venturing deeper into the stillness that enveloped the tunnels. That's when it began. At first, it was just a faint sound, almost drowned out by the ambient rustling of the tunnels. A whisper, so softly spoken it almost didn't register. My entire body froze, every muscle taut as I strained to listen more intently, hoping to catch the sound once more amidst the silence. Was it the wind, a simple trick of the underground breezes, or something else, more sinister? The voice was just barely audible, and yet undeniably human in nature, repeating what I swore sounded like "help us." My heart accelerated, thudding violently within my chest as I peered down the path, my eyes meeting only the daunting emptiness stretching before me. I attempted to rationalize, convincing myself it must be my mind playing tricks after a tiring day. Yet as I turned to leave, the whispers grew stronger, more urgent, almost desperate. Terror shot through my entire being, compelling me into a full sprint, fueled by an overwhelming desire to escape whatever unseen presence may have dwelled within those dark, forgotten corridors. The narrow beam of my flashlight cut slices through the dense darkness as I ran, illuminating horrifying forms that brought me to a jarring stop. There, strewn about the hard earth floor, lay spectral figures garbed in the attire of miners from eras long since past, their faces unnaturally pale, life having long departed. I stood paralyzed, only able to blink. In that fleeting moment, they disappeared, leaving the tunnel as empty as it had seemed before, though my heart knew differently. Stumbling backwards, disoriented by a heady mix of disbelief and sheer horror, my mind was a maelstrom of fear. The whispers ceased suddenly, giving way to a silence so profound and absolute it was suffocating. I dashed towards the exit, the pounding of my heart an unrelenting drum in my ears, and secured the doors with shaking hands, desperate to leave behind the weight of what I had just experienced. That night, the solace of sleep remained elusive. Visions of the miners swarmed my thoughts relentlessly, their spectral visages woven into every dream, their whispers threading into the stillness of my room like a sinister lullaby. With the break of dawn arrived a growing urge that I could not ignore, a compelling need to delve into the history of the mine, to piece together the puzzle of that night. What I uncovered sent icy prickles over my skin. 18 miners had indeed met their tragic fate during the very construction of these tunnels, victims of a disastrous accident that left them entombed in perpetual darkness. Realizing that I might have encountered their lingering spirits left me with a complex mesh of dread and a profound sympathy. From that unforgettable night onwards, the mere thought of braving the tunnels alone became unthinkable. The whispers and brief visions were persistent reminders of those restless souls, seemingly trapped and yearning for recognition within those stone walls. I took their tale to heart, weaving it into the stories I shared with our visitors, hoping to honor their existence and ensure they did not vanish into the shadows of forgotten history. Although many years now stand between me and that ominous encounter, the experience remains a powerful presence in my life, etched with incredible clarity upon my consciousness. The whispers drifting from the depths of the earth and the transient sight of those poor, lost miners remain an enduring testament to the past's ghostly grip. They act as a poignant reminder that some stories refuse to be silenced, their echoes ever present and resonating through the winds of time. The work of guiding visitors through the mining museum in British Columbia was never supposed to be fraught with fear or mystery. It was a job that was meant to be simple, a straightforward duty of escorting guests through the museum's dimly lit tunnels. These tunnels were rich with history, their walls seemingly alive with the stories of miners who had once braved the perilous depths. In 2008, I found myself comfortably settled into this role, each day passing in a routine that was both predictable and fulfilling. Visitors came and went, their faces filled with curiosity and eagerness to learn about the mining heritage of the region. But everything changed one night, a night so terrifying that it remains etched in my memory, resurfacing in moments of quiet and haunting my dreams. The day had been like any other, filled with groups of visitors eager to delve into the mining history that this unique region had to offer. As the sun began to set, casting long shadows across the museum's entrance, I prepared for the final tour. Once the last visitors had left, I was left with the task of ensuring that everything was in order before locking up for the night. The tunnels, with their cool, damp air, were familiar to me, and I moved through them with ease. Each step echoed off the stone walls, creating a sound that was both comforting and eerie. As I reached the deepest part of the mine, a chill ran down my spine, a sensation that was both foreign and unsettling. I attributed it to fatigue and continued my checks, moving deeper into the stillness of the tunnels. Then it happened. A faint sound, almost lost in the ambient noise of the tunnels, reached my ears. It was a whisper, so soft that it was almost imperceptible. I froze, every muscle tense as I listened intently, hoping to hear it again. Was it the wind, or something more sinister? The voice was barely audible, yet unmistakably human, repeating what I thought was "help us." My heart raced, pounding in my chest as I looked down the path, seeing only emptiness. I tried to convince myself that it was just my imagination, a trick of the mind after a long day. But as I turned to leave, the whispers grew louder, more insistent. Fear surged through me, and I ran, desperate to escape whatever unseen presence was in the tunnels. My flashlight cut through the darkness as I ran, illuminating figures on the ground that stopped me in my tracks. There, on the floor, were ghostly figures dressed in old mining clothes, their faces pale and lifeless. I stood frozen, blinking, and in that instant, they vanished, leaving the tunnel empty. I stumbled back, my mind racing with disbelief and fear. The whispers stopped, replaced by a silence so deep it was suffocating. I ran to the exit, my heart pounding, and locked the doors with trembling hands, eager to leave the experience behind. That night, sleep was elusive. The faces of the miners filled my thoughts, their whispers echoing in my room. With the dawn came an urge to understand what I had seen. I researched the mine's history, looking for answers to the mystery of that night. What I found was chilling. 18 miners had died during the construction of the tunnels, victims of a tragic accident. The realization that I might have encountered their spirits filled me with dread and empathy. From that night on, I refused to enter the tunnels alone. The whispers and visions were constant reminders of the restless souls within the stone walls, seeking recognition and peace. I shared their story with visitors, hoping to honor their memory and keep them from being forgotten. Though years have passed, the experience remains vivid in my mind. The whispers and the sight of the miners are a testament to the past's hold, a reminder that some stories are never truly silenced. They echo through time, a haunting presence that lingers on. Hope you enjoyed that spine-chilling experience. Now, let's move on to the next creepy tale. Ready to face more thrilling moments together? Let's dive into the next story right away. On a chilly evening as summer's end loomed near, I found myself seated across from Sheriff Wilson in his dimly lit office, a room I had visited far too frequently over the past few weeks. Each visit seemed to pile new layers onto an already palpable sense of unease that settled over me like an unwelcome fog. The tension in the room perfectly mirrored the anxiety that had settled over our little coastal town, an anxiety that seeped into every conversation, every glance exchanged between the townspeople. It wasn't just the chill in the air hinting at the approaching autumn that sent shivers down spines. It was the recent wave of strange and sudden disappearances casting an unforgiving, dark shadow over our otherwise vibrant community. This shadow had threatened to swallow us whole, wrapping everyone in a state of perpetual anxiety, steeping our daily lives in fear for what unknown horror might happen next. I had come to this dim office to meet with Wilson, hoping to shed light on the grim events we could not seem to escape, yearning for even the smallest insight he might have uncovered, or at the very least, to lighten the heavy, burdensome worry that had clung to us all, hoping for a shared understanding of the dread that had taken root in our hearts. The silence in the room was oppressive, as though swallowed up by the dense fog of uncertainty and fear. This silence was only broken intermittently by the rhythmic, almost hypnotic crashing of waves upon the distant shore outside, a relentless, haunting reminder of the vast, enigmatic ocean lying just beyond our sight, its promise of secrets untold overshadowed by its recent role as a harbinger of likely doom. It was within this tension-filled space that Wilson leaned over his cluttered, paper-strewn desk, shadows dancing ominously across his face beneath the brim of his well-worn and age-weathered hat. The look in his eyes was a mix of exhaustion and unyielding determination, and his voice, thick with the weight of the past weeks and the urgency of our current moment, cut through the silence like a knife. 2 kids vanished last night, right around the old pier, he began, his voice heavy with sorrow and urgency. Each word was carefully measured, yet laced with an intensity that reflected the severity of these incidents. People around town are saying it was a creature, something monstrous, something that rose up from the depths and took them. As Wilson shared this deeply unsettling news, a shiver, sharp and icy, ran up my spine, igniting vivid memories I had long, tirelessly struggled to bury. My mind was dragged, almost against my will, back to that fateful day so many years ago, when my own relentless curiosity led me too deep into the ocean's relentless embrace. What should have been an exploration filled with wonder, with the endless marvels of the underwater realm, had turned abruptly, without warning, into a scene of abject horror. I was left indelibly marked and incomplete, my hand lost forever to the ocean's depths. Since that day, an ever-present fear has lingered stubbornly in the deepest recesses of my mind, an acute, almost paralyzing fear of the transformations that can occur beneath the waves, those terrifying, grotesque changes that signify the loss of one's humanity to the ocean's cruel, avaricious ways. Wilson pressed on, though it was clear his voice carried a slight tremor he could not entirely conceal. Rumors have begun to circulate about ancient legends of sea creatures, sinister and enticing, lying in wait, ready to ensnare the unwary and unsuspecting. Yet, as his words reached me, my attention rapidly pivoted to something deeply unsettling, something unexpected. His hands, once steady and reliable symbols of strength, now twitched uncontrollably with an unnatural, alarming vigor. His skin began to change, assuming a gleaming, unnatural sheen, as though some alien horror was clawing its way to the surface, desperate to break free. My heart thudded violently in my chest, a chaotic drumming conveying nothing but mounting panic as realization struck me. I was witnessing the beginning of a dreaded transformation, one I had feared more than anything, manifesting right before my eyes. Horrifyingly, it was consuming Wilson, not me. "Wilson, what's happening to you?" I shouted, my voice edged heavily with panic as I bolted upright from my chair, a wave of alarm and dread coursing through me. His eyes, wide and infused with palpable dread, sought mine almost desperately. I can't explain it," he stammered, struggling to get words out, each syllable warped by distortion, panic woven through every broken sound. "It feels like some force is trying to take over." My gaze remained transfixed as Wilson's form began to twist grotesquely, contorting with each passing, agonizing moment into something monstrous and alien. His skin blackened and seemed to crack apart, revealing a hideous, abhorrent creature lurking beneath. It was as though the nightmarish tales of sea demons, whispered by superstitious sailors and old lore, had sprung chillingly to life right before my eyes, becoming an embodiment of my worst fears as I stood, immobilized, paralyzed by horror, staring into an abyss I had desperately hoped would remain a mere fabrication of legend. Driven by sheer horror and crippling desperation, I reached for the weapon I had carried ever since my own terrifying encounter with the depths, a heavy, unyielding club ominously named the Skull Smasher. Fueled by an intense, volatile concoction of fear and seething anger, I swung it with all the force my body could muster at the monstrosity that had once been my friend, Wilson. The impact was both fierce and sickening, a scene of brutal violence as it splattered the room with viscous, black blood. The creature emitted an unbearable, agonizing shriek, a sound that seemed to pierce the very air, before collapsing into a grotesque, formless heap on the floor. I stood there, chest heaving with exhaustion and disbelief, overwhelmed and shocked by what I had just done, the grim, inescapable reality bearing down on me in relentless, suffocating waves. Silence reclaimed the room once more, interrupted only by the sound of my ragged, uneven breaths. I glanced down at the misshapen remnants of what had once been a man I held as a confidant and ally in troubled times. A tempest of anger and revulsion surged within me, not directed at the broken monstrosity he had become, but at the ancient, insidious call of the sea itself, a force that seemed hell-bent on bending us, forcing us to its terrifying will. I absolutely despise mermaids, I muttered vehemently through clenched teeth, my voice echoing eerily in the room's suffocating stillness. Though my words felt like a betrayal of the majestic beauty the ocean once held for me, they were nonetheless the undeniable truth of my haunted, shattered heart. And thus, yet again, I find myself entrapped by the shadows lurking beneath the ocean's depths, painfully aware that the terror below seeks to claim us, to twist and transform our very essence into its dark, nightmarish image. Yet, I refuse to face this sinister fate alone. Armed with the Skull Smasher, I stand resolute and unwavering, ready to battle against whatever unspeakable horrors the unforgiving sea may choose to unleash, ever prepared to hold my ground firmly against its relentless, dark tide, prepared to fight until my very last breath. Hope you enjoyed that spine-chilling experience. Now, let's move on to the next creepy tale. Ready to face more thrilling moments together? Let's dive into the next story right away. Living in the city has never been a walk in the park, especially when you're trying to make ends meet as a butcher. The rent is sky high, and the daily grind just keeps getting tougher. The constant hustle and bustle of urban life, the relentless noise, and the pressure to keep up with expenses have always been challenging. Every day feels like a marathon, with no finish line in sight. The bills pile up, the demands never cease, and it feels like I'm constantly treading water, just trying to stay afloat. The struggle to balance work and personal life is exhausting, and the weight of responsibilities is like a never-ending burden on my shoulders. The city, with its towering buildings and endless streams of people, never seems to sleep, and neither do I. My life has become a series of routines, each day blending into the next, with little time to pause and breathe. But lately, it's not just the financial pressure that's been weighing on me. My loyal dog, Max, has been acting strangely, and I can't shake the feeling that something's terribly wrong. It's as if an invisible cloud has settled over our lives, casting a shadow that grows longer each day. This sense of unease has become a constant companion, lurking in the corners of my mind, making it difficult to focus on anything else. The city that once felt like a place of opportunity now feels like a labyrinth of stress and uncertainty. Max used to be full of energy, always wagging his tail and ready for a walk. He was my constant companion, always eager to play or snuggle after a long day at the shop. His enthusiasm was infectious, a bright spot in the otherwise monotonous routine of my life. But over the past few weeks, his behavior has changed. He's restless, prowling around the apartment as if searching for something. His appetite has grown insatiable, yet his body grows thinner by the day. I've taken him to the vet, but they find nothing physically wrong. It's like he's being haunted by something I can't see. His once bright eyes now seem clouded with worry, and his playful bark has turned into a low, anxious whine. The transformation is heartbreaking, and I feel helpless, unable to alleviate his distress. His condition only adds to my anxiety, as I struggle to understand what could be causing his distress. I watch him wander the apartment, his movements erratic and his demeanor troubled, and I can't help but feel that we're both trapped in a situation beyond our control. At first, I thought it was just city stress getting to both of us. The constant noise, the cramped living space, and the never-ending hustle can wear anyone down. The blaring horns, the chatter of neighbors, and the ceaseless activity outside our window have become a backdrop to our lives, an ever-present reminder of the chaos that surrounds us. But then, I started noticing other things. Food disappearing from the pantry, strange noises in the night, and the unsettling feeling that we were not alone. My thoughts turned towards the landlord, a shifty character who always seemed too eager to let himself into the apartment for inspections. Was he messing with us, trying to drive us out so he could hike the rent even higher? The idea gnawed at me, adding to my growing sense of unease and suspicion. I began to question every creak, every unexplained movement, wondering if there was a more sinister motive behind it all. The paranoia grew, making it difficult to relax in my own home. Every sound seemed amplified, every shadow more ominous, as if the very walls were conspiring against us. Determined to get to the bottom of it, I installed a pet camera in the living room, hoping to catch the landlord in the act. I was prepared to confront him with evidence, to put an end to this unsettling mystery. The thought of finally having proof, of being able to call him out, was both empowering and frightening. What I discovered was far more disturbing than I could have imagined. The footage revealed a creature, unlike anything I had ever seen, creeping out from the shadows. It was small at first, barely noticeable, but over the days, it grew larger, more daring. It moved with an unsettling grace, its eyes glinting with a malevolent intelligence as it rifled through our food stores. Its presence was both mesmerizing and terrifying, a silent invader that seemed to defy explanation. The realization that we were not alone, that something otherworldly had invaded our sanctuary, sent chills down my spine. The discovery left me both terrified and fascinated, as I struggled to comprehend the reality of what I was witnessing. The creature's existence challenged everything I thought I knew about the world, leaving me in a state of disbelief and fear. My heart pounded as I watched the recordings. This creature was not just stealing our food, it was growing stronger, more confident. Max's strange behavior made sense now. He had sensed the intruder long before I did. But why was it here, and what did it want? The thought of confronting it sent shivers down my spine, but I knew I couldn't let it continue to terrorize us. The very walls of our home seemed to close in, the familiar surroundings now alien and threatening. The sense of security I once felt had been shattered, replaced by a growing fear that permeated every aspect of my life. The apartment, once a place of comfort, had become a prison, haunted by an unseen menace that refused to leave. The creature's presence was a constant reminder of our vulnerability, a specter that loomed over every moment of our lives. I tried everything to get rid of it, setting traps, sealing up every possible entry point, but nothing worked. The creature was relentless, and with each passing day, it seemed to grow bolder, its presence more oppressive. I could feel its eyes on me, even in broad daylight, a constant reminder of the unseen threat lurking just beyond the edge of my vision. The air in the apartment felt heavier, charged with an energy that was both foreign and frightening. It was as if the very atmosphere had turned against us, conspiring with the creature to drive us out. The feeling of being watched, of being hunted, was inescapable, and it consumed my thoughts day and night. My attempts to reclaim our home felt futile, as if the creature was always one step ahead, anticipating my every move. The final straw came one night when I awoke to find Max standing at the bedroom door, growling low in his throat. I followed his gaze and saw it, the creature, standing in the hallway, larger than ever before, its eyes locked onto mine. In that moment, I knew we couldn't stay. This was no longer our home, it had become a hunting ground. The realization hit me like a cold wave, washing away any lingering doubts or hopes that we could coexist with this entity. The decision to leave was no longer a choice but a necessity, a means of survival. The fear that had gripped me was replaced by a determination to protect Max and myself, to escape the nightmare that had taken over our lives. The creature's presence was a threat I could no longer ignore, a danger that demanded immediate action. Packing up our lives was a blur of frantic energy. I left behind the city that had been my home for so long, driven by a primal need to protect myself and Max. We hit the road, searching for a new beginning far away from the whispers in the walls and the terror that had invaded our lives. The decision to leave was both heartbreaking and liberating, a necessary escape from a nightmare that had consumed us. As we drove away, the weight of the city lifted from my shoulders, replaced by a cautious optimism for what lay ahead. The open road stretched out before us, offering the promise of a fresh start, free from the fear that had held us captive. The journey was both a physical and emotional departure from the life we had known, a chance to redefine our existence away from the shadows that had haunted us. Now, as I look out over the open fields of our new home, I feel a sense of peace that had long eluded me. Max is slowly recovering, his spirit returning with each passing day. The memories of that creature still haunt me, a reminder of the darkness that can lurk in the most unexpected places. But here, under the wide open sky, I feel hope. We've escaped the nightmare, and for the first time in a long time, I believe we're safe. The vastness of the landscape offers solace, a stark contrast to the suffocating confines of the city and the horrors we left behind. The open space, the fresh air, and the quietude provide a sanctuary for healing, a place where we can rebuild and find solace in the simple joys of life. The terror that once consumed us has been replaced by a sense of freedom and possibility, as we embrace the chance to start anew in this tranquil haven. The open fields and endless skies are a balm to my weary soul, offering a promise of renewal and peace that I had almost forgotten was possible. Hope you enjoyed that spine-chilling experience. Now, let's move on to the next creepy tale. Ready to face more thrilling moments together? Let's dive into the next story right away. In the serene and unassuming town of Larkspur, my life was intertwined with that of my loyal canine companion, Max. From the very beginning, Max wasn't just an ordinary dog, he was my steadfast protector, a vigilant guardian warding off the sinister elements that lurked in the unseen corners of our world. As a child, I found immense comfort in his presence, his soft fur a tangible reassurance that shielded me from the invisible threats that seemed to linger just beyond the edges of my awareness. Max entered my life as a tiny, scruffy puppy, abandoned in a cardboard box left outside our family home. His eyes, though small and clouded with the innocence of youth, held a profound wisdom and an undeniable spark of loyalty. Over the years, Max grew from that fragile little pup into a strong, formidable canine, his loyalty unwavering and his devotion unmatched. He never left my side, and though I was unaware at the time, our bond was destined to be tested in ways I could never have imagined. Our first brush with darkness occurred on a blustery autumn night, the kind where the wind howled through the trees and the moon hung low, casting an eerie glow over the dew-laden grass. I was nestled in my bed, the gentle rhythm of Max's breathing a soothing lullaby that filled the otherwise silent night. Suddenly, a loud thud shattered the tranquility, reverberating through the house. Max sprang to his feet, a low, rumbling growl emanating from deep within his chest. His hackles raised, he positioned himself protectively between me and the bedroom door. With caution, I followed Max's lead, his ears perked and senses heightened. As we approached the front door, we were met with the sight of an elderly man, frail and trembling, yet surrounded by an unsettling aura that set my nerves on edge. He claimed to be lost, requesting the use of our phone. Despite the oddity of his presence, my ingrained politeness almost compelled me to let him in. However, Max's menacing stance and aggressive bark held me back, anchoring me in place. The man hesitated, his gaze piercing through me, a twisted smile slowly creeping across his face. In an instant, Max lunged forward, his jaw snapping with a ferocity I had never seen before. Startled, the old man stumbled back, and for a brief moment, a sinister glint flickered in his eyes, revealing something disturbingly unnatural. He fled into the night, leaving behind not only a shredded piece of his coat, but also a palpable sense of victory for both Max and me. In the days that followed this unsettling encounter, rumors began to circulate about missing children and a malevolent presence preying on the innocent. The entire community was on edge, and police patrols became a common sight in our once peaceful town. It wasn't until a courageous investigation led to the discovery of a hidden cellar on the outskirts of town, filled with macabre trophies, that the true horror was unveiled. The elderly man was, in fact, a monster in disguise, collecting parts of children to fulfill a gruesome ritual. Max had saved me, my family, and perhaps countless others from a fate too horrifying to comprehend. Several months passed, and as the nightmares of that episode began to fade, Max's instincts once again brought forth a revelation. The quaint local park, often bustling with the laughter of children and the smiles of families, had become a favorite spot for our afternoon walks. On one particularly bright summer day, Max was unusually fixated on an area near the old oak tree. Observing him dig with feverish determination, I sensed that something was amiss. To my utter disbelief, Max unearthed a human bone, aged and weathered by time. Panic surged through me as I quickly contacted the authorities. What followed was an intense investigation that uncovered a grim narrative. Beneath the park's picturesque charm lay the dark secrets of a celebrated woman in our community, revered for her philanthropy and charm. It turned out that she harbored a ghastly hobby, using her beauty and influence to lure unsuspecting victims, concealing their remains beneath the ground where joy and laughter once prevailed. The town of Larkspur has never been the same, no longer as naive, but far more vigilant. As the shadows beneath the moon stretched and shifted, Max remained by my side, his unwavering loyalty the beacon in the enveloping darkness. Even now, as I pen down these strange tales, Max watches me with those wise, old eyes, ever ready to protect against the fear that skulks just beyond the perimeter of light, reminding me that courage sometimes comes with 4 paws and a wagging tail. His presence is a constant reminder that in a world filled with hidden dangers, the bond between a human and their loyal dog can illuminate even the darkest of paths. In the aftermath of these harrowing experiences, our town has grown more cautious, the innocence of our community forever altered by the revelations that surfaced. Neighbors who once exchanged pleasantries with little concern now watch over their children with a heightened sense of awareness, the memory of the horrors that once hid in plain sight serving as a constant reminder of the fragility of our perceived safety. Max's vigilance has become legendary in our town, a testament to the extraordinary instincts that animals possess. His actions have inspired many to look more closely at their own pets, to recognize the subtle signs and signals that might otherwise go unnoticed. In Max, I found not only a protector but a true friend whose loyalty transcends the ordinary bonds of companionship. As I reflect on these events, I am filled with gratitude for the unwavering presence of Max in my life. His ability to sense danger, to act with courage and determination, has not only safeguarded me but has also brought to light the hidden evils that might have continued to thrive unchecked. Through his actions, Max has shown that sometimes the most profound acts of bravery come from those who cannot speak but whose actions resonate louder than words ever could. In the quiet moments, As the moon casts its gentle glow over our home, I often find myself contemplating the mysteries that still linger in the shadows. Yet, with Max by my side, I know that whatever darkness may come, we will face it together, his loyal heart a guiding light in the enveloping night. Hope you enjoyed that spine-chilling experience. Now, let's move on to the next creepy tale. Ready to face more thrilling moments together? Let's dive into the next story right away. In the serene and unassuming town of Larkspur, my life was intertwined with that of my loyal canine companion, Max. From the very beginning, Max wasn't just an ordinary dog. He was my steadfast protector, a vigilant guardian warding off the sinister elements that lurked in the unseen corners of our world. As a child, I found immense comfort in his presence, his soft fur a tangible reassurance that shielded me from the invisible threats that seemed to linger just beyond the edges of my awareness. Max entered my life as a tiny, scruffy puppy, abandoned in a cardboard box left outside our family home. His eyes, though small and clouded with the innocence of youth, held a profound wisdom and an undeniable spark of loyalty. Over the years, Max grew from that fragile little pup into a strong, formidable canine, his loyalty unwavering and his devotion unmatched. He never left my side, and though I was unaware at the time, our bond was destined to be tested in ways I could never have imagined. Our first brush with darkness occurred on a blustery autumn night, the kind where the wind howled through the trees and the moon hung low, casting an eerie glow over the dew-laden grass. I was nestled in my bed, the gentle rhythm of Max's breathing a soothing lullaby that filled the otherwise silent night. Suddenly, a loud thud shattered the tranquility, reverberating through the house. Max sprang to his feet, a low, rumbling growl emanating from deep within his chest. His hackles raised, he positioned himself protectively between me and the bedroom door. With caution, I followed Max's lead, his ears perked and senses heightened. As we approached the front door, we were met with the sight of an elderly man, frail and trembling, yet surrounded by an unsettling aura that set my nerves on edge. He claimed to be lost, requesting the use of our phone. Despite the oddity of his presence, my ingrained politeness almost compelled me to let him in. However, Max's menacing stance and aggressive bark held me back, anchoring me in place. The man hesitated, his gaze piercing through me, a twisted smile slowly creeping across his face. In an instant, Max lunged forward, his jaw snapping with a ferocity I had never seen before. Startled, the old man stumbled back, and for a brief moment, a sinister glint flickered in his eyes, revealing something disturbingly unnatural. He fled into the night, leaving behind not only a shredded piece of his coat, but also a palpable sense of victory for both Max and me. In the days that followed this unsettling encounter, rumors began to circulate about missing children and a malevolent presence preying on the innocent. The entire community was on edge, and police patrols became a common sight in our once peaceful town. It wasn't until a courageous investigation led to the discovery of a hidden cellar on the outskirts of town, filled with macabre trophies, that the true horror was unveiled. The elderly man was, in fact, a monster in disguise, collecting parts of children to fulfill a gruesome ritual. Max had saved me, my family, and perhaps countless others from a fate too horrifying to comprehend. Several months passed, and as the nightmares of that episode began to fade, Max's instincts once again brought forth a revelation. The quaint local park, often bustling with the laughter of children and the smiles of families, had become a favorite spot for our afternoon walks. On one particularly bright summer day, Max was unusually fixated on an area near the old oak tree. Observing him dig with feverish determination, I sensed that something was amiss. To my utter disbelief, Max unearthed a human bone, aged and weathered by time. Panic surged through me as I quickly contacted the authorities. What followed was an intense investigation that uncovered a grim narrative. Beneath the park's picturesque charm lay the dark secrets of a celebrated woman in our community, revered for her philanthropy and charm. It turned out that she harbored a ghastly hobby, using her beauty and influence to lure unsuspecting victims, concealing their remains beneath the ground where joy and laughter once prevailed. The town of Larkspur has never been the same, no longer as naive, but far more vigilant. As the shadows beneath the moon stretched and shifted, Max remained by my side, his unwavering loyalty the beacon in the enveloping darkness. Even now, as I pen down these strange tales, Max watches me with those wise, old eyes, ever ready to protect against the fear that skulks just beyond the perimeter of light, reminding me that courage sometimes comes with 4 paws and a wagging tail. His presence is a constant reminder that in a world filled with hidden dangers, the bond between a human and their loyal dog can illuminate even the darkest of paths. In the aftermath of these harrowing experiences, our town has grown more cautious, the innocence of our community forever altered by the revelations that surfaced. Neighbors who once exchanged pleasantries with little concern now watch over their children with a heightened sense of awareness, the memory of the horrors that once hid in plain sight serving as a constant reminder of the fragility of our perceived safety. Max's vigilance has become legendary in our town, a testament to the extraordinary instincts that animals possess. His actions have inspired many to look more closely at their own pets, to recognize the subtle signs and signals that might otherwise go unnoticed. In Max, I found not only a protector but a true friend whose loyalty transcends the ordinary bonds of companionship. As I reflect on these events, I am filled with gratitude for the unwavering presence of Max in my life. His ability to sense danger, to act with courage and determination, has not only safeguarded me but has also brought to light the hidden evils that might have continued to thrive unchecked. Through his actions, Max has shown that sometimes the most profound acts of bravery come from those who cannot speak but whose actions resonate louder than words ever could. In the quiet moments, as the moon casts its gentle glow over our home, I often find myself contemplating the mysteries that still linger in the shadows. Yet, with Max by my side, I know that whatever darkness may come, we will face it together, his loyal heart a guiding light in the enveloping night. Hope you enjoyed that spine-chilling experience. Now, let's move on to the next creepy tale. Ready to face more thrilling moments together? Let's dive into the next story right away.